Hey y'all, my name is Torella, and if you are new to Killer Queens, here I try to tell true crime stories through the millennial lens. I use a little bit of the adult language.
Holy f***, this is incredible.
And we try to keep it light over here, but we're gonna tell these stories in a way that is respectful to victims and their families, and hopefully raise some awareness. So let's get into it. Today's case is senseless, does not even begin to describe it. Horrific does not even begin to describe it. Heinous, just the worst things you could possibly imagine are involved in this case, and for absolutely zero reason at all. We do have some thank yous very quickly. We want to give a hey girl thanks to Beth for writing this one up. Thank you. And Ashley S., Casey Noel, and Erica Watkins, hey girl, hey, for requesting this case. So this is the murder of Jennifer Daugherty, and you might also recognize it as the Greensburg 6 because there are 6 perpetrators involved in the case. We do have some trigger warnings as well: murder by stabbing and choking, torture, sexual assault and rape, and discussion of suicide. Let's talk a little bit about who Jennifer was. Jennifer Lee Daugherty was born on November 8th, 1979 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania to Richard Daugherty and Denise Murphy. She had 2 sisters, Joy and Jamie, and a stepbrother named Dave. Dave was the son of her stepfather, Bobby Murphy. She had 2 nieces named Brianne and Bailey, and a nephew named Dylan. Jennifer had a disability that left her with the mental abilities of an adolescent. It said that she was functioning like someone who was around 14 years old. Joy said that her sister was kind. She was very trusting of everybody that she met, and she believed that everyone was good, that nobody would hurt her, which is just so precious, so innocent, and to be the kind of human that would take advantage of that, it's just evil. Also, side note, I'm wearing the same shirt I wore last week because it's the same day. To you guys, it's a week apart, but I'm doing 2 in one day, and your girl ain't changing clothes, okay? So, sorry, I do have other clothes, just letting you know. Bobby, Jennifer's stepdad, said that it was normal for Jennifer to travel from her house in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania to Greensburg, Pennsylvania, which is only like 10 miles. She would ride the bus. She'd go by herself when she had like medical appointments to go to. So that was something that she did on a regular basis. She could go and do that herself. It gave her a sense of freedom and independence and all of those things. Later in victim impact statements, Jennifer's family described her as being loved by all that knew her. Her sister Joy said that Jennifer always wanted to be part of the group, no matter what the group was. Bless her sweetheart. She said that Jennifer loved life, being a part of anything that was going on around her, and that she just saw the best in everyone. Other family members stated that Jennifer, y'all, we're 4 minutes in and I'm already gonna cry. Okay. Jennifer always looked up to her sister. They were super close growing up. You guys will understand why when I get to what happened to her. My God. In the time leading up to her death, Jennifer had told her parents that she had made some new friends. Denise and Bobby didn't press her for too many details. They were just really happy for her. They thought that that was great, that she had made this new group of friends, and they were happy for her. So life continued on as normal. On February 8th, 2010, Jennifer went to the bus station to head to Greensburg for a doctor's appointment, just like she'd done tons of times before. Her stepdad, Bobby, dropped her off that day. Later that day, Jennifer called home and asked her mom if she could spend the night at her friend Peggy's house. Jennifer said she'd be home the next day, so that'd be Tuesday, February the 9th, sometime in the afternoon. But that's the last time that her family heard from her. I also read that she left a note for her mom that was just like, "Mom, I love you. I hope you have a great day at work. I'll see you tomorrow. Talk to you soon." Just, heartbreaking. So at this time, a snowstorm was passing through the Greensburg area, and the county had asked the residents to move any vehicles off the street so that the snow plows could have easy access and that they're not going to bang up your car or whatever. If you didn't have like space in your driveway or garage, then people would park their cars in just empty parking lots just to get them off the streets. And I'm not sure if they did this here, but I know in Canton, Mass, from following the Karen Reed trial, that if you didn't, you could get a ticket. So I'm sure that, people just used whatever they could to avoid that as well. Daniel Grant had parked his truck in the parking lot of the Greensburg Salem Middle School, and when he walked over on the morning of February 10th, 2010, he was met with a gruesome discovery. When Daniel gets over to his truck, he realizes that somebody had left a whole ass garbage can under his truck. We have nowhere else to put a garbage, like, what? That's obviously very strange. He couldn't just drive over it, so he had to physically pull this garbage can out so he could move his truck. But when he pulled the garbage can out, he discovered that the body of a woman was inside. The woman's body had been placed head first into the garbage can and was partially covered in plastic bags with Christmas lights wrapped around her neck and wrists. Y'all, now I'm just mad. Now I'm mad. You're just not ready. You're just not ready. So just wait for it. Her ankles were bound with white Christmas garland. Daniel immediately called police who rushed to the scene. And because of the way that the woman's body was put into the garbage can, the medical examiner's office had to put just the whole garbage can into a body bag to take it for autopsy. So police immediately begin their investigation and they set up their command center at the middle school. This snowstorm was so bad that they had actually canceled school that week, so students wouldn't be in the school, on the property, anything like that. Obviously, they don't want anybody to disrupt anything or contaminate anything, but they also don't want kids to have been the ones to find this, and I feel really terrible for the man that found it, but it could have been a middle schooler. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. Police also shut down a portion of North Main Street in each direction so they could attempt to determine where the garbage can had come from. There were still no leads by the following morning on who the murdered woman was, but they had been able to determine that the woman was approximately 5'9", weighed about 140 pounds, and had been wearing jeans and either a gray or black hooded shirt. This information was put out to the public, as well as a statement that it was unlikely that the garbage can had made its way underneath the truck on its own, obviously. Jennifer Daugherty's family had not heard from or seen her since she went to the bus stop on February the 8th, and they'd been desperately trying to get in touch with her. When they had seen the information about the body found in the school parking lot, they immediately called the police to find out if this was their daughter. The body was identified as Jennifer Daugherty. And at that point, it didn't take investigators long to find out who had done this to her, because Jennifer had told her parents whose house she was going to and had given them the contact information of the person in this house in case they needed to. I mean, again, she's calling to ask her mom for permission to go on this sleepover. So her mom is getting the information. Y'all didn't think somebody would know where she was? I don't know. So they knew that she was staying at her friend Peggy's house on Pennsylvania Avenue in Greensburg. Turns out the address that she was at was the house of somebody named Ricky Smyrns. Smyrns? The country bumpkin in me says Smyrns, but I feel like I heard it Smyrns. I'm calling him Smyrns. I don't know. After learning this information, the police were able to determine exactly who was involved in the murder of Jennifer Daugherty. On the evening of February 11th, 2010, the police held a press conference and announced that 6 people were being charged with Jennifer's murder. Now, before we get to what led to Jennifer's murder, let's talk about who the perpetrators were and how they all knew each other. Amber Meidinger was born on January 12th, 1990, and was the girlfriend of Melvin Knight. Melvin was born on October 27th, 1989. His father was in prison in the early years of his life, and Melvin had developed a lifelong learning and social problems after he had fallen out of a moving truck at the age of 5 and he hit his head. Amber and Melvin ended up meeting at a homeless shelter in Washington in January of 2010, and before they settled in Greensburg, Pennsylvania together, they moved around to several different places. Melvin knew a man named Ricky Smyrns from a mutual stay in jail. So they had met each other in jail. They decided to head to Greensburg because he knew that's where Ricky was, I think, is what I read. Ricky Smyrns was born on March 6th, 1986. His mom was reportedly addicted to drugs and was a sex worker, and his father was in a gang in Pittsburgh. He was in and out of foster care throughout his childhood, and he was treated for mental health disorders beginning when he was 4 years old. He dealt with neglect and abuse until the age of 10 when the Smyrns family took him in. According to his attorney, he suffered sexual and physical abuse from both his father and his uncle, and by the age of 6, he had tried beer, cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. This is honestly, all of these people, you can absolutely feel horrible for the child that they were. But y'all, we fucking know better. We know better. Like, I hate what they went through as children, but this case reminds me a lot of, oh my gosh. It's the case out of Knoxville of Shannon Christian and Christopher Newsom out of Knoxville. This case reminds me of that a lot. You will see why if you're familiar with the case. If you're not familiar with it, I think we covered that in like episode 4 ever of the podcast. It's in our OG episodes, which you can get for free if you go to killerqueens.link/OG. But we just don't have those out anymore because the audio was like terrible. We didn't know what we were doing then. But that's a heartbreaking case. If you know that case, just prepare for that level. It's bad. And again, you can feel sorry for the children that these people were when they went through this, but oh my gosh. At 8, Ricky was diagnosed with PTSD as well as having 7 different personalities and 15 different psychiatric issues. At the time of Jennifer's murder, Ricky was married with a child and also dating one of the other perpetrators in this case. And we'll get to that too. Ricky had also had a protective order filed against him from a previous girlfriend because he'd broken a water pitcher over her head and had attempted to rape her. According to her, Ricky was abusive when he was not on his medication. And according to Heather Ashley's research over at Big Mad True Crime, hey girl, we love you. If you're not listening to Heather, you're not living life the way you're supposed to. And I'm going to stand by that. I'll die on that hill, okay? Go check her out. Ricky's own mother had filed a protective order against him in 2008, claiming that he had pushed her, screamed at her, and threatened to kill her when she went to retrieve items from his apartment that he had stolen from her. So he robbed her, and then she came back for the stuff he robbed of her, and he got mad about that. So Ricky was released from jail not even a month before Jennifer was killed, and I mean, his track record speaks for itself. Angela Marinucci was born on July 14th, 1992, and according to her testimony by her mother and sister, she had suffered a head injury at the age of 15 when she was hit by a truck. And again, these are things you cannot help. You cannot help that you are abused. You cannot help that you've suffered head injuries. You cannot help that you can't help some of these things. Just what they did is just awful. Her behavior was substantially altered after the injury, and according to expert testimony at her trial, she suffered from depression and may have had drug and alcohol addictions as a teenager. And we do know that a traumatic brain injury can absolutely alter behavior. And I used to work with a woman whose son, and this freaking haunts me, and I think about it all the time. Her son was in elementary school, and he was playing outside on a playground. And you know how they have, like, at the school playground, they have the, like, plasticky kind of stuff that goes around it. So there's, like, the mulch inside and then the actual play set and the just barrier or whatever. It's at parks, playgrounds, whatever. He was playing with some other kids. They're running around. He trips and falls backwards, and he hits his, like, neck/head just right on that barrier. And he suffered a traumatic brain injury. And ever since then, he's been very violent with them, very angry. He lashes out a lot, just things that she's like, it's really sad. She's like, that my son he's not the same person he was before. And again, we can have so much compassion for that. Planning a murder, though, cannot get behind it. Cannot get behind it. Robert Masters was born on December 22nd, 1973, and Peggy Miller was born on February 3rd, 1983. So Melvin and Amber, remember they had moved from Washington. Amber at this time is pregnant with Melvin's child, by the way. Okay, so it's a different day now. My camera was acting funky, but I think I have it fixed. It took a little more research than I'm proud to admit. I did not understand what was happening. I'm not great with cameras. So anyway, we got it under control, you guys. Now we can continue on. What is my hair doing? Okay, now we can continue on. All right, so like I said last time, Melvin and Amber decide to move from Washington to the Greensburg area. Melvin knows Ricky. They were in jail together. Ricky says, come stay at my apartment tonight. No big deal. Now, Amber actually knew Jennifer, our victim, from a facility that they had both gone to, that they had used. They had services for people who have mental disabilities, mental disorders, things like that. So they actually met there and became comfortable with each other. I did also read that Jennifer had met at least one of the other girls in the house at this facility as well. Either way, Jennifer has met people in the house and she now is becoming friends with them. So what led to this? And when I say horrific, I'm not joking, murder of Jennifer. It really boils down to bullshit. At some point, Amber and Jennifer had a conversation where Jennifer allegedly said that she wanted to marry Ricky. Now, remember, Jennifer at this point in her life, even though she is an adult, she's functioning mentally at the intellectual capacity of like a 14-year-old. I remember when I was 14, I thought I was going to marry everybody that I liked. Honestly, if you had told me when I was 14 that I was not going to marry Justin Timberlake, I would have told you that you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And the only reason that we didn't get married yet was because we just hadn't met each other yet. It was like Michael Bublé, I just haven't met you yet. And like, that's the only reason. Okay. So Angela had overheard this comment and she got upset. And Amber was like, what's going on? So Amber and Angela have a conversation where Angela says, I'm in a relationship with a married man. That married man happens to be Ricky. Now, at the time, Angela was 17 years old. Ricky was 23. Don't do that, okay? I think that's bad. So after this, Amber overhears a phone call between Angela and Ricky where Angela says, quote, you better not be with that bitch. When I tell you this is a high school feud, not even feud, a high school I heard you liked my boyfriend temper tantrum that ended in the worst possible way it could end. Like, and of course, I mean, again, you can never understand why somebody did what they did, but it's, you know, it's kind of one of those like, what are we doing here? It's so high school. But anyway, so after all this, the Greensburg Six end up at Ricky's apartment where Ricky invites Jennifer to stay over. Now, again, I have also read that it was one of the girls that invited her to spend the night, or that she just told her mom that it was one of the girls that invited her to spend the night because obviously, you know, she's an adult, but she doesn't want her mom thinking that she's going to spend the night with a boy. So this is why her mom thought that she was spending the night at Peggy's house. Obviously not Ricky's house. It's Ricky's house. Peggy was there, but you know. So Jennifer gets to Ricky's apartment to hang out with her friends. These are her new friends, right? And it did not take long for things to go really, really, really wrong. So allegedly, Jennifer asked Ricky to have sex with her, but he, quote, angrily refused. I'm just not sure about that. Is she an adult and she can have sex if she wants to? Absolutely. I just don't know that she'd walk in and be like, want to have sex with me? And he gets really angry with her. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to stay the night anyway. I don't know if she knew that he and Angela had a thing going on. I don't know any of that, but this sounds very much to me like six people who tried to put an instigator label on Jennifer to say, well, she came on to Ricky, and so we retaliated. That's what it feels like to me. Despite this, like I said, Jennifer stays the night at the apartment. I don't believe that happened anyway. But, and then she decided not to go to her doctor's appointment the next day that she had at 3:00. It's unclear who all stayed the night on the first night, but throughout that time, throughout the time that Jennifer was held captive, all 6 were present at different points. There is no point, or there's no way that any one of the 6 can say, well, but I didn't realize, or I wasn't there, or some of them may have been in and out for parts of it, but they were all 100% complicit in what happened. Oh, and also, the events that we do know happened, some of it we know from autopsy and things like that. A lot of it is through the words of the perpetrators. So we can only take it with a grain of salt, Believe what you think makes the most sense and is most likely. Because again, this is one of those situations where it's like, it's unlikely that a coincidence that alleviates responsibility from you occurred in this situation, Okay. So they say that Jennifer goes to take a shower, and while she's in the shower, Ricky called Angela to tell her that Jennifer had come on to him, that she had tried to have sex with him and he didn't want to. And so Angela was like, oh, hell no, nobody's taking my man, nobody's gonna have sex with my man, kind of thing. Unless we count his wife, but I don't think that, we're not talking about her right now, right? So anyway, Angela tells Ricky that she wants to beat up Jennifer and to not let her leave the apartment because she's gonna come there and teach her a lesson, I guess. The part of the group that was at the apartment at this time, which appears to be everybody but Angela, they go through Jennifer's purse. They start pouring toothpaste in her purse, mouthwash in her purse, which her cell phone is in there. They start pouring the stuff on her clothing. Amber takes Jennifer's cell phone. Melvin takes her cash and gift cards. And once Jennifer gets out of the shower, Melvin tells her to go buy him cigarettes with the money that he had taken from her. And Jennifer initially refused, but then ultimately she ends up following the orders. It isn't explicitly stated, but apparently she left and came back with cigarettes. Again, I don't know about that because at this point I don't know. Anyway. And she was very trusting, but this is what they say happened. So she comes back. The group continues to harass her. Ricky and Melvin hit her on the head with empty plastic bottles. Jennifer started to get angry and she called Melvin an asshole, but he then pushed her into a wall and choked her. He continued to choke her until she had fallen to the floor in tears. Shortly after this, Angela gets there. And she's upset about Jennifer making a move on her man. And she confronts Jennifer with Amber by her side. They force her into the bathroom. Once in the bathroom, Angela pushes her into the metal towel rack 3 times and then hit her in the head and the chest. Angela then told Amber that Jennifer actually liked her boyfriend, Melvin. All the while, Jennifer is denying having interest in either of them. What are we doing? So at this point, Ricky and Melvin are joining in. They drag Jennifer from the bathroom. They start pouring spices and oatmeal on her on her head. Angela also poured water on Jennifer, and then Ricky forced Jennifer to take a shower. Once Jennifer was out of the shower, they forced her to remove her clothes. They threw them out the window. Angela and Ricky then cut Jennifer's hair, made her clean up, and then took her into the living room and stuffed a sock in her mouth. And then after this, Melvin raped Jennifer. Ricky and Melvin then forced her into the attic because the tenant who was actually on the lease of the apartment had come back to get some stuff that they had forgotten. This part's really difficult. And again, it reminds me so much of Shannon Christian and Christopher Newsom, where the search parties were so close for them, close. When they were looking for them, they were on the street, and they didn't know that Shannon was inside that garbage can in that house. The police actually showed up at one point because Ricky and Melvin had gotten into an altercation with the tenant who had come back to retrieve things, but they eventually leave. And the whole time Jennifer is up there. It's so sad. So after all this, Angela decides she's going to stay at the apartment that night. Now, second night, she's staying. So Ricky, Melvin, and Amber leave to go to Angela's house to pick up her prescription medication. While they're gone, Ricky told Peggy and Robert to stay with Jennifer and not allow her to leave. Did you forget about Peggy and Robert altogether as human beings? I did too. But here they are, fully involved, because this was their chance to call 911. This was their chance to put Jennifer on a bus. This was their chance to call her a cab. anything. While on their way back to the apartment, Peggy calls them to say that Jennifer's trying to leave. Here's your chance to not let them know that she's trying to leave. I mean, come on. So when they get back to the apartment, Melvin and Ricky beat Jennifer. Melvin was particularly angry at this point because his girlfriend was pregnant. Amber was pregnant with his child, remember, and had passed out on the way back to the apartment. They had been running back to the apartment to prevent Jennifer from leaving, and the overexertion had caused her to pass out. So Jennifer made his girlfriend pass out, which she wouldn't have done if you were not forcibly holding her, kidnapping her, and assaulting her over and over. But do you ever just hear something in your face? You remember the Britney Spears interview, and it's like a meme, give reel, I don't know, what do the kids call them these days, where she's like, that's what this feels like. You made her run because you tried to leave the dangerous situation that we have you in, which is ultimately going to take your life, and you have every reason to want to run away from us, but you made her pass out because we had to run faster to catch up. Cannot. So Jennifer says that she has a headache, probably because all the beating, and she's saying, like, I don't feel good. I have a headache. Like, this hurts. So Ricky and Melvin give her some of Angela's medication. Tylenol. It's not Tylenol. It's Seroquel. Seroquel does not treat headaches. It treats bipolar disorder. So they leave her in the living room and they all went to bed. The next morning, Angela, Ricky, and Melvin leave the apartment to cash a check. They told Amber, Robert, and Peggy not to let her leave. Once they returned, a dispute over and here is where we differ here, I would call it a Coke. I don't know what kind of Coke it was. Beth calls it a soda, whatever you want to say. But they get into an argument over this Coke. Again, we don't know the brand. And this causes Angela to push Jennifer to the floor, sit on top of her, and start punching her in the face because of a Coke. I like Coke as much as the next bitch. I like all kind of Coke. Not like, you know what I mean. But I don't think I've ever punched anybody over a Coke. Now, straight out the glass bottle Coke, like Coca-Cola Coke, that's some powerful stuff. Again, I don't think I would punch anybody for it. And again, you are left just seeing how, and I do understand that there are other things at play, but just how immature the entire situation in which Jennifer Daugherty lost her life is. It's just the whole thing. So Jennifer decides at this point, like, I have to defend myself. And so she kneed Angela in the stomach. Angela tells Ricky that Jennifer has killed her baby. Did you think I misspoke? Because Amber's the one that's pregnant, right? Amber, who is with Melvin, is pregnant, right? I didn't misspeak. Angela is trying to assert that she is pregnant. She's not. So after this, Ricky says to Jennifer, well, if you want to kill my kid, then why should I let you live? Angela then tells Ricky he needs to choose between her and Jennifer. And if he chose Jennifer, he had to get rid of her. So he did the reasonable thing, and he calls a family meeting. The family meeting, you guys, he calls all the friends in and says, what kind of mother do you guys think Jennifer would be? Shortly after the first meeting, a second one was held to determine what Jennifer would have to drink when she said she was thirsty. Once they made their decision, Angela put Jennifer back in the bathroom and Amber hit her in the head with a towel rack so they could force her to drink Angela's urine from a cup. Jennifer immediately gagged into the toilet, so they forced her to drink a second concoction made up of, oh my God, this is so awful, urine, feces, spices, parsley, and garlic. All the while, Amber is still hitting her with this towel rack. A third mixture was created containing powdered detergent, water, and some of Amber's medication, and Jennifer was beat until she obeyed. She was forced to consume it all until she vomited. Ricky and Melvin were reportedly not satisfied with the humiliation that Jennifer had been subjected to up until this point, so they decided to wrap Christmas lights around her, and Angela insisted that this would work and that Jennifer would look like a Christmas tree. Like a Christmas tree that nobody would notice is not a Christmas tree? I don't understand. So One of our favorite Christmas movies, Miss KB has been watching this Christmas movie with us since we were fairly young, is Mixed Nuts. And if you've never seen it, it's a gem. Go see it. There is a part. I mean, I want to say I don't want to give it away, but it's 30 years old now. So like if you haven't watched it, you haven't watched it. But there's a part at the end where there's a body that they have to get rid of. And it's a Seaside Strangler, which is a serial killer in their area. He tries to attack somebody. They kill him, but now they're afraid they're going to get in trouble for it, whatever. So they wrap him in burlap and then make him look like the Christmas tree. So they're trying to carry the Christmas tree out and like dump it to make it look like Christmas tree or whatever. Of course, somebody trips and falls. He goes up in the air. His name's Stanley Tannenbaum. They play "Oh Christmas Tree," but they change the lyrics to "Oh Tannenbaum." Anyway, I think that's what Angela thought was gonna happen. Like, and I don't know that she's ever seen Mixed Nuts, and it did not work in Mixed Nuts. Like, I don't understand. Just the thought processes of any of it is bizarre to me. But like, we'll just make her look like Christmas tree. Nobody will know. My brain hurts today. But the lights weren't blinking like she wanted them to, which Angela did not like. So they end up having to unwrap the Christmas lights because they're not working. And they end up, Melvin ties them around her wrists or her ankles, Jennifer's. Then they added Christmas garland to her ankles. And while this is going on, Peggy's nail polish was painted all over her face. Then Ricky calls a third family meeting where he says, "I don't know what to do here. Should we kill Jennifer?" And all six agreed that this was the only way. At first, they were supposedly just going to attack her and teach her a lesson and let her go. But then they realized that, like, well, she knows who we are. Like, she's going to tell people what happened. So then they decided they would have to kill her. So they end up forcing her to write a suicide note. Jennifer had written in the note that she wasn't happy for a long time, but she loved her mom and stepdad no matter what. She wrote that she would always love the rest of her family too, and said that her niece and nephew would be lucky to have a better aunt than her. That is so heartbreaking. That is so heartbreaking to force somebody to write something like that. And then once Jennifer was finished writing the note, Angela said, "Just kill that bitch." So the group leads Jennifer to the bathroom for the last time, where Ricky says to Melvin, "You know what to do." Why did it have to be Melvin? I'm not really sure why Melvin was determined to be the person to wield the final blows, but Ricky grabs a steak knife, gives that to Melvin. Melvin did hesitate, but he went in there and he stabbed Jennifer in her chest, torso, and throat several times. Jennifer did not die from these injuries, though. So Ricky goes in the bathroom again and he slit her wrist and then he strangled her with the Christmas lights. After Jennifer was murdered at his hands, Ricky called yet another family meeting to decide how are we going to dispose of the body. This man is nothing if not fucking consistent. Family meeting, family meeting, family meeting. Angela initially voted to burn Jennifer's body in front of a church, but instead Ricky and Melvin put Jennifer in plastic bags in a garbage can, and which takes us to the morning of February 10th, 2010, when Jennifer's body was found in that middle school parking lot. Now, before we get into the trials, we're going to talk a little bit about what the autopsy found. Dr. Cyril Wecht performed the autopsy of Jennifer's body and determined that she suffered multiple incised wounds, abrasions, and contusions. Several prescription drugs were found in her system, and the cause of death was a combination of all of the injuries that she sustained, but was primarily due to the stab wounds in her chest. These had penetrated her left lung and went into her heart, producing a substantial hemorrhage. Dr. Wecht believes that these injuries were inflicted shortly before her death with the intent to cause pain and suffering. And Dr. Wecht noted that she would have likely remained unconscious after the wounds were initially inflicted, and she would have bled for a few minutes, lost consciousness, and finally died within 4 to 6 minutes, which they do also say that, like, I think one of them said, like, she will not die or something like that, because she didn't die right away. It's just terrible. So once they're arrested, the events start to come to light. Melvin admitted to stabbing Jennifer, while Ricky admitted to disposing of her body with Melvin's help. Upon Angela's arrest and initial incarceration, she made several incriminating statements to other inmates at the Westmoreland County Correctional Facility. She admitted to one inmate that she had assaulted Jennifer because Jennifer and Ricky had engaged in sexual relations, and that she was the one who wanted Jennifer dead. She told another inmate that she wanted Jennifer dead because she had stolen Ricky and another boyfriend from her. A third inmate said that Angela told her that she had lured the victim to the apartment and said that she, quote, fed feces to... I'm not going to say this word. It's the derogatory R word, but I'm not going to say it. It is in court records. I'm not going to say it. Angela Marinucci was the first of the Greenburg Six to be convicted for Jennifer's murder. At her trial, prosecutors claimed that she was the one who initiated the torture that Jennifer was subjected to and that she coerced the others to participate. She was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, that sentence was overturned after the state appeals court ruled that juveniles are ineligible for mandatory life prison terms. Angela was then sentenced to another life sentence in 2017, but that was also overturned because there was no potential for parole. In 2022, Judge Rita Hathaway imposed Angela's third sentence. This sentence included consecutive prison terms of 40 years to life for Jennifer's murder and an additional 20 to 40 years for conspiracy. Angela again appealed that sentence, claiming that the length of her sentence violated the state constitution and was based on the judge's bias. In January of 2024, a panel of 3 Superior Court judges rejected the appeal. Then in June of 2024, Supreme Court justices filed a one-sentence ruling that they would not hear her latest appeal. Both Ricky Smearns and Melvin Knight were found guilty and sentenced to death by lethal injection for their roles in Jennifer's murder. Both have been trying to appeal their convictions, but those have been upheld. Amber Meidinger pleaded guilty to third-degree murder and was sentenced to 40 to 80 years in prison. She was a key witness during Angela's, Melvin's, and Ricky's trials. I am assuming they reduced her charge to third degree because of her cooperation, and if that is so, she got very lucky because she was there for every step of the way as well, and she took a big part in it. She physically beat this poor woman and knew that they were going to kill her. Like, it's just disgusting. Peggy Miller and Robert Masters both also pleaded guilty to third-degree murder. Peggy was sentenced to 35 to 74 years in prison, and Masters was sentenced to 30 to 70 years. Again, lucky. It seems like they didn't participate as much as the others, but again, we talked about all the opportunities they had to let her go, call her a cab, put her on a bus, anything, right? Call 911, any of it. Kim Ward, a Republican state senator in Pennsylvania, proposed legislation that she hopes will eliminate some of the problems that were uncovered after Jennifer's death, and she calls it Jennifer's Law. And a pivotal part of her proposal was to make it a crime for people to witness a violent crime and not report it to police or other authorities if they can avoid being harmed themselves. The law was passed, and violation to report the crime would be a third-degree misdemeanor, and that is it. My heart goes out to Jennifer's family, Jennifer's loved ones. It just really, really makes you sad to think about what she went through and just how, and again, every murder is unnecessary. Every murder is senseless. This is just so heinous for no reason other than I think you might like the guy that I like, which, by the way, the guy that I like is married to another woman, and I'm actively having an affair with him, and I'm okay with that. Forget the commitment he made to his wife. He has a commitment to me. She was also 17 and he was 23, and there's a lot wrong there too. So in that, like, none of it's okay. None of it's okay. But we certainly don't murder people that we think like our boyfriend. I mean, it also kind of reminds me of the Seth Jackson case. And I don't remember his girlfriend's name there, his ex at that point. She also had red hair. At this point, is it science? I don't know. Just kidding. But they did both have red hair, which is interesting. But that's the case. Let me know what you guys think. Sorry, I Couldn't get my shit together and film it in one fell swoop, but you know, here we are. I love you guys. Bye.